There once was a man who was born knowing all too well the weight of iron shackles, the sting of the overseer's whip, and the crushing reality that his body, his breath, and even his thoughts did not belong to him. He had been born in bondage in Missouri, where men like him were worked to the bone and discarded when they were no longer useful. He had no rights, no freedom, and no future, until one fateful night he took his fate in his own hand. So one night in 1852, a man named Joshua Glover took the opportunity and ran. With nothing other than the will to be free, this brave man fled north, his feet blistering against the rough ground, his breath exhausted and ragged as he pushed forward mile after mile through forests and rivers toward the unknown. Every step was a risk. If caught, he wouldn't just be returned, he would be beaten, branded, and likely killed as a public spectacle to warn others, to torment and torture. But fear did not stop him, for freedom was worth everything. When he finally reached Wisconsin, he found what seemed to be a sanctuary. See, Wisconsin was a free state, a land where men like him were not supposed to be hunted like property, shackled like animals. He settled in Racine, found work. For the first time in his life, he had experienced what was meant to be the feeling of a free man, not property. But slavery's reach was long and vast, and greed was everywhere. Treachery, as prevalent as it is today, and its cruelty knows no bounds or borders. Under the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, Joshua Glover was still a fugitive in the eyes of the law. His former owner, Benjamin Stone Garland, tracked him down. And worse, someone Glover thought as a friend betrayed him, snitched on him. For a reward, this so-called friend informed Garland about his whereabouts. And on March 10th, 1854, U.S. Marshals stormed into Glover's home, beat him, bloodied him, and dragged him away in chains, throwing him into a Milwaukee jailhouse to be sent back to Missouri. As an example, something beautiful and remarkable happened that no one expected. Word spread. The people of Wisconsin, free people, were furious that this good man, this righteous man, who all knew to grow in love as a man of God, was back in shackles. They heard his stories. They saw his pain. They witnessed his scars. They saw the injustice of it. That state was free. The federal government had turned it into a hunting ground for slavers. Federal government. Abolitionists, working men, and freedom fighters. Majority white men. 5,000 strong rose up. And on March 18th, 1854, they stormed that jail led by the fiery abolitionist, Sherman Booth, a white man. These brave men tore down the jail doors with axes, hammers, and sheer force and will of God and good men. They broke Joshua Glover free. They did not see him as property. They did not see him as a slave. They did not see him as some fugitive. They saw him as a man deserving of God's grace, God-given right to be free, the man. Through the Underground Railroad, Glover was secretly moved, past Racine. From hand to hand, he was passed, house to house, until finally he crossed into the free land that is now known as Canada. And when he stepped onto that soil, the soil where no man could ever say he was his master again, he was finally, truly free. There in Canada, he lived out the rest of his days as a free man. 9 days later there, in Ripon, Wisconsin, the Republican Party was born. A party that stood against slavery. It stood for freedom. It stood for freedom and justice for all men. A party that took its first breath in direct opposition against evil and injustice. So I ask you, where are you? What have you been told? What would you have done in that situation? Would you have been one of the 5,000 good men strong who stood against tyranny? Would you have been the friend who betrayed Joshua? Or would you have been like so many others, silent in the face of evil, aligning to your own slavery? Joshua Glover died a free man, far from the chains of Missouri. Question is, how will you die? How will you live? Free in mind and spirit, or still in the bondage of the lies you've been told and the truths that have been kept from you? My name is Ezra Masters. Know that your history is your power. Your spirit is spirit, and good men come in all forms, in all colors. Awaken to the truth, my people, and you will see clearly what God has for you is for you, and it's directly in alignment to where you need to be. I love you, and I want you to win. Know your history. Embrace your truth. Move beyond the lies, the deceptions, the betrayal. Find your freedom. Go win.